Welcome back to Wrestling What If, where we dive deep into alternate wrestling realities. Today, we explore a huge question. What if Shawn Michaels never got injured in 1998 and became a centerpiece of the Attitude Era? Let's jump into the story that could have changed wrestling history forever. Background: the Heartbreak Kid's real-life setback. In real life, Shawn Michaels was one of WWF's most important stars throughout the early to mid-1990s. Often called the showstopper and the main event, Michaels built a reputation as one of the best in-ring performers the business had ever seen. His feuds with Bret Hart, Razor Ramon, and Diesel helped define the new generation era, keeping WWF alive during challenging times when WCW was surging. However, in early 1998, disaster struck. Shawn suffered a severe back injury during a casket match against The Undertaker at the Royal Rumble. Though he pushed through to perform at Wrestlemania 14, where he dropped the WWF Championship to Stone Cold Steve Austin, Michaels was forced into a near 4-year retirement right afterward. His absence meant he missed almost the entirety of the Attitude Era, the most explosive, rebellious, and successful period in wrestling history. But what if that injury had never happened? What if the Heartbreak Kid had been in the thick of the chaos, alongside Stone Cold, The Rock, Triple H, and The Undertaker? Immediate changes after WrestleMania 14. If Shawn Michaels stayed healthy, the first major change would occur right after WrestleMania 14. In real life, Triple H took over leadership of Degeneration X the night after, bringing in X-Pac and the New Age Outlaws to strengthen the group. But with an uninjured Shawn Michaels, leadership would have stayed with the original HBK. DX would have remained more of a cocky, elite unit under Michaels, rather than the rowdy, rebellious faction it became under Triple H. Shawn's charisma and sharp tongue would have made DX even more prominent in the early Attitude Era, with Michaels taking center stage in feuds against Vince McMahon, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and The Rock. The rebellious spirit of DX would have still flourished, but it would have been driven more by Shawn's arrogance and less by sheer anarchy. The dream rivalries we could have seen: Shawn Michaels versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. The rematch. One of the biggest immediate possibilities would be an ongoing feud with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Their match at WrestleMania 14 was strong, but imagine a healthy Shawn pursuing Austin throughout 1998, refusing to accept his defeat and desperate to reclaim the WWF Championship. A full-fledged heel Shawn Michaels, using mind games, interference, and backstage politics, chasing the no-nonsense anti-hero Stone Cold, could have produced a legendary series of matches, possibly on par with the Austin vs. Rock rivalry. Shawn Michaels versus The Rock. First time, big time. In real life, Shawn and The Rock never had a singles match. Backstage tensions and bad blood prevented it. But if Shawn had stayed active, the rise of The Rock in 1998 could have led to an epic feud between the established star and the fast-rising People's Champion. Shawn could have played the jealous veteran, angry that The Rock was stealing his spotlight. Meanwhile, The Rock's sharp promos would have shredded Shawn's ego week after week. The matches between two of the most charismatic performers ever could have easily headlined major pay-per-views. Shawn Michaels versus Triple H. Friends collide. With both men active, a natural storyline would eventually emerge: a power struggle within DX. Triple H, tired of playing second fiddle, could have turned on Shawn. A blood feud between the two would have been money, mixing personal betrayal, elite in-ring storytelling, and years of history from the Click days. This would elevate Triple H even faster, but through a deeply emotional, dramatic rivalry with his mentor, rather than a simple leadership change. Impact on Degeneration X and the faction landscape. In our real timeline, DX grew into a wild, fan-favorite faction with outrageous antics. With Shawn in charge, DX might have leaned more into being a slick, ruthless group rather than full-on comedy rebels. Shawn's DX would have focused more on humiliating rivals through in-ring dominance and psychological games, more than parking lot antics or spray painting slogans. Other groups, like the Nation of Domination and the Corporation, would have adapted to face a Shawn-led DX, meaning faction warfare might have been grittier and more personal. Additionally, the New Age Outlaws might not have been brought into DX as quickly or at all, meaning their huge push could have been delayed or rerouted elsewhere. how Shawn's presence would have affected title scenes. Without injury, Shawn Michaels would have remained at or near the top of the card throughout 1998 and 1999. He likely would have captured more championships during the Attitude Era, possibly regaining the WWF Championship from Stone Cold at some point, or even battling Mankind for the belt during the Mr. Socko craze. The Intercontinental title, often defended between younger stars like The Rock and Triple H, might not have been a focus for Shawn, but he could have influenced the main event scene heavily, creating new triple threats and chaotic main events involving Austin, The Rock, Triple H, Mankind, and even Kane. Long-term effects on wrestling history. Triple H's slower rise without leading DX in 1998, Triple H's rise to superstardom could have been slower. His game persona, which started gaining traction around 1999, might have been delayed without that early leadership boost. The Rock's different path. If Shawn clashed with The Rock earlier and more often, it's possible The Rock's ascension to top face or heel could have been affected. Whether it slowed or simply added more credibility to his resume would depend on how their feud played out. Different WrestleMania main events. Imagine WrestleMania 15 featuring a triple threat, Stone Cold versus Shawn Michaels versus The Rock, instead of just Austin versus Rock. Or WrestleMania 16, 2000, becoming a fatal four-way between Shawn Michaels, The Rock, Stone Cold, and Triple H. The possibilities are endless. Impact on Shawn Michaels himself. Ironically, without the injury forcing him to step away, Shawn's personal struggles with addiction and his volatile backstage behavior might have worsened. His real-life time away from the ring and his later religious awakening helped him mature. A continuously active Shawn might have burned more bridges, possibly ending his career earlier, and without the beloved 2000s comeback fans cherish today. Final thoughts. Shawn Michaels staying healthy and active during the Attitude Era would have shaken the entire foundation of WWF history. We would have seen dream matches that never happened, factions that evolved differently, and a main event scene packed with even more star power. But the flip side is just as important. The Shawn Michaels who returned in 2002 was a changed man, both inside and outside the ring. Maybe sometimes even setbacks happen for a reason. Still, it's fun to imagine the Heartbreak Kid standing tall, defiant, and arrogant, right in the middle of the Attitude Era's chaos. This has been Wrestling What If. Thanks for joining me, and stay tuned for our next dive into alternate wrestling history.